Good afternoon, everybody from the Magic Kingdom. I've been thinking a lot. Do you feel like it's a little too confusing to visit the Disney parks anymore? Right now we are running over to Tron because we had a virtual queue. And today we want to talk a little bit about just how confusing it is to visit Disney World in 2023. And I know there are some changes coming in the future. Let's talk about it after we go ahead and ride Tron. The line doesn't look too bad for Tron today, as we are now walking up to sign into our virtual queue. We are group 64, which is right now 64 to 75, so we are right on the edge.
Prepare for Team Blue Light Cycle Run upload sequence. Initiate in 3, 2, 1.
Alright, we have just finished up on Tron. Let's go ahead and talk about the entire virtual queue system. Well, sorry again, this video just went 0 to 100, but that's my point. The virtual queue you can't really adjust to. So that's the first thing in the confusing process, are the virtual queues that Disney still has. There's not a lot of them, there's only 2 at the moment, one of them being Tron, the other being Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind over in Epcot. The problem is, the virtual queue you have no say over. Whatever time you get is the time you have to return, and especially with something like Tron, they're very, very particular about you being there on time. You cannot show up late, you cannot show up early, so you are stuck inside of that window. Well, if you have an entire trip planned, and all of a sudden your hour-long window is in the middle of some other options, you might not be getting on Tron after all. Now the other thing is, you have to get up at like 6:50 and get that 7 a.m. reservation. Otherwise, if you miss it, you gotta then basically stop everything that you're doing and try and fight for that 1 p.m. reservation. And you kind of have to tune your entire trip around it. You can't go get in line. You're fighting at 2 time slots and just hoping that you get it. That's already, I mean, in itself, it's a confusing process, but then to like plan a day around it, that's confusing as well. I don't know. Virtual queue, that one's done for today. I need to mention it is pretty hot today, and temperature-wise, you wouldn't assume that it's that bad. I think it's about like mid to upper 80s. However, the humidity is hitting, and you are very sticky today. So my hands feel sticky, my arms feel sticky. That humidity will really increase the temperature. So something to keep in mind is, even if you see and you're like, oh, you know, the temperature is only like 85 or something, with humidity, that can feel pretty rough. Now, I am getting a little hungry today since I have not eaten yet. So we're gonna go around the corner. I think I'm gonna try Pico's Bill, see if there's something over there that I can grab for lunch. As we are heading over there, you can take a look at the old Splash Mountain, now the Tiana's Bayou Adventures. You can see some of the scaffolding going on over there. We'll go and take a look at it here in a second, but there is some work being done over there. Kind of looks the same that it has for pretty much the past like month or so, but I know the internals, there's a lot going on. However, I did hear that they are bringing in some new animatronics, and those are starting to show up. So they will be doing a little bit more than just kind of painting some stuff and throwing some screens. There will be some new animatronics on the ride. So after the incident at Disneyland, I do not believe that our dragon here for the Fantasy Parade blows fire anymore. You can see the smoke. Oh, just kidding, we got fire. All right, we have now gone with the nachos. These are just the beef nachos. And then this is a strawberry limeade slush. Apparently this is like limited edition right now kind of thing. The nice thing with the nachos is they always do this where they'll put the toppings on the side. We are going to go ahead and dig into these. These are actually really good. Pico's Bill has great food, in all honesty. And just like that, we have finished our nachos. For 2 people, it was honestly the perfect amount. Again, highly recommend. Good food. That's not the issue that I have here. Let's talk about it. Now, as I am in front of Tiana's, we'll talk just a little bit about the food situation here at Disney. Now, this is probably the least confusing bit out of all of them. I'll explain it. So Disney offers kind of 2 ways that you typically can order. Number 1, you can either go into the stores or the restaurants and then place an order at the counter, get your food and go sit down, whatever. Or you can mobile order. Tends to be a little bit quicker whenever you mobile order. You can place it, and a lot of times within 5 to 10 minutes, you can go ahead and get your food instead of waiting in that super long line. Some of the newer places, and I don't know if Disney's totally done it like full blown yet. I know Universal has a little bit, but sometimes all you have is the ability to mobile order. You actually physically can't go in and go to a counter. They'll tell you, hey, mobile order, mobile order, mobile order. Sometimes what'll end up happening is they won't let you come in. Maybe if it's like a busier time or something, and they'll just say, hey, you've got a mobile order, and then you can walk in. I know over at like Satuli Canteen, I feel like that's happened a few times. In a few different locations, I feel like they'll tell you like you can only mobile order, thus making it a little bit more confusing. If in your head you're like, let's go over to this restaurant, I want to go pick up this, certain item or whatever food items I want to get, and at the end of the day, you go over there and they're like, oh, no, you gotta use the app. So now you gotta go inside of the app, find whatever restaurant you want to get to, choose the time frame, and then a lot of people, what they'll do is they'll place the order, pay for the order, and then you actually have to click like I'm here. And a lot of people will forget that, and they're like, where's my order? And then they'll be like, have you clicked like you've arrived? So again, it's not that big of a deal, but in all honesty, if you're just looking for this like fluid vacation and this trip, sometimes the mobile ordering situation can be a little confusing for people, thus kind of slowing you down and making it a little harder to just have that smooth vacation. Again, not the most inconvenient, but it definitely does have some inconvenient tendencies. There is some of the scaffolding, by the way, so it's definitely a lot more than I originally thought from kind of across the pond there. So they do have a lot of scaffolding up. I don't see anybody working on it right now, but there is some stuff going on there. I'd be interested to see kind of what the animatronics look like. I don't know if we'll end up seeing them before, obviously, you get on the ride. It'd be cool to kind of see a little teaser. I think I also need to piggyback off of the whole dining situation as well. So we finally just got a reservation for Topolino's Terrace breakfast dining for August 2nd. Today is June 2nd, so 60 days out. Could be another issue if you guys are looking to make reservations to restaurants. I think you get about 60 days is kind of that limit. However, those like really popular restaurants, they sell out like crazy and fast. So like if there's like one place you really want, there's a chance that you don't get it because like it sells out quick. Like I said, we look at this place all the time, and we finally just got one for 2 months out right now. That's kind of crazy. I realized I didn't give you guys a nice review on this strawberry limeade, by the way. Quite tasty. I actually really like this. Pretty refreshing. I think they use fresh strawberries. Can you see like the bits of like strawberry seed along the edge? So this is actually a pretty solid drink as well. I think this was limited time, they said. Highly recommend that. We are gonna go ahead and get on Aladdin here. The lines are getting quite long. We are actually going to make a video kind of on the Genie Plus process, whether or not you really need it here at the parks. But I will say we are kind of starting to hit those summer crowds. It wasn't too bad when we first got here, but definitely everything, even in the app, I think it was showing 45 minutes for Big Thunder, and we were just right over there. And it was out of the front there, and then kind of spitting out into like the actual land itself. It wasn't gonna be 45 minutes. It was probably gonna be closer to about an hour and 15 or so. Here we go. You gotta watch out for the camel over here. It squirts water. Oh,
What does yours do?
I'm supposed to tilt us. Do you feel like we're tilting?
I do not.
I feel like the tilt one's kind of a scam. Huh. Maybe this is where you put the kids in the back so that way they don't mess with you. That is the storm cloud we are getting right now, so we have to prep for it. I think there's water getting on the lens. Now, as we talk about crowds, that'll bring me to the next confusing bit, and that would be the reservation system. However, I will say the reservation system is going away next year, at least for regular ticketed guests, and then annual pass holders. You still have like the free reservation, which you don't really have to book a reservation after 2. Again, that gets a little confusing in and of itself. So if today you decided last minute, you're like, you know what? I want to go to Magic Kingdom, or I want to go to Animal Kingdom or Epcot, whatever. Ultimately, you're not just buying a ticket and showing up to the park. You have to buy the ticket, then you need to go and check the reservation, double check that they have an available reservation. Otherwise, you're not able to go to that park for that day, unless you have a park hopper, in which then you can hop after 2 p.m. And that kind of piggybacks into the next point, park hopping. You used to be able to park hop whenever. Now, you can only park hop after 2 p.m. and that's for all guests. That's for regular guests that have the park hopping availability, and then for pass holders as well. So again, it used to be kind of whenever. Maybe you wanted to get up and hit the park at 8 a.m., get there and go till maybe 10 or 11. And you're like, you know what, that's enough for the day. Let's get over somewhere else and then go somewhere else. Who knows? I mean, maybe you were park hopping 2 or 3 times by 2 p.m. not able to do that anymore. Now it is 2 p.m. That starts the park hopping hours. It's just another way that they're kind of making things confusing. You buy your ticket. Well, it's not really your ticket. I mean, it is your ticket, but now you gotta have a reservation. You gotta choose where you're going and when you're going and make it a little bit more direct. Oh, also you wanted to park hop today? Well, it's gotta be 2 p.m. You can't just go there at noon. I mean, after lunch? No. You gotta wait till 2 p.m. to get there. Again, these are just things that it's like, as a person that would plan a Disney vacation, that would be really hard to start to keep track of. When you're in the park, just like we had to do, the virtual queue. Oh, I wanna go on this ride. Well, double check, is it on the virtual queue list? Is it not on the virtual queue list? I don't know. I mean, people that don't come here all the time, they might not know that. So, you know, you're starting to stack up these things that make it just a little too inconvenient to go to the parks. It's not just show up, go, and have a day. It's a lot more planning and a lot more just confusion that brings to your trip. Anyway, let's get on. I think we're gonna go do Buzz Lightyear. Looked like it was about a 20-minute long wait. Unfortunately, it was temporarily delayed, so we are actually going to head over here to Space Mountain. I think it's 50 minutes here, so an extra 5-minute wait. But at that point, space tends to keep going. It can definitely go down. But we figured we'll just jump over here, get on something that's actually up and operational right now. It's also typically a pretty good sign, even if it says 50 minutes. If it's not outside, it's typically good. Outside tends to be about an hour. If you're inside, maybe 45. It depends on how quick it moves. Plus, with how hot it is outside, it's nice to be indoors for a queue versus outside. So we will take this, and we'll go ahead and take our flight to space. And here is our wait at about 31 minutes. We are just a few away, so not too bad overall for, I think, what was it, 45 or 50 minute posted. We have exited the ride now. Very nice ride, and it does let out again into the launch depot over here, which is mostly Tron merchandise, which I've noted a few times. Found it. Here's some of the Space Mountain merch. Mostly Tomorrowland, it says. Also, wait a minute. That's Disneyland. Hello? Disney World? So this is kind of fun. Maybe like a little teapot, or maybe it's just a holder, or a mug that is not a functional mug. How do you even put your lips on that? After that ride, that kind of brings me to the next point. That's going to be the entire Genie Plus system. Now I know it's very similar to the old Fast Pass system that they had here, but here's where the confusion starts to come in. Number one, now you have to buy it. It's not a consistent price, so it could fluctuate. So somebody could be like, yeah, we paid 15 bucks. You go in thinking I'm paying 15 bucks a person. Turns out that day they want us, $28, $30 a person. I've seen that happen where those prices will get pretty high. Also, before, the Fast Pass system used to have everything on it. Now, some of the items are individual Lightning Lane, which means that you might buy Genie Plus, go to prep your entire day with your family and be like, well, let's go pick our, the ride that we want to do and set up our whole thing. And then you go in, you notice, well, wait a minute, where's Seven Dwarfs? That's not on here. Or, where's Frozen? Actually, I think Frozen is one of the items. But either way, the individual Lightning Lanes that you might find around the parks ultimately aren't in there. So now you go in and you have this problem where you're like, hey, I thought I was getting these rides. And they're like, well, no. You need to spend additional money to get those individual Lightning Lanes. So again, just more confusion to the process. You can't just buy a ticket and show up. You can't just buy Genie Plus and start skipping lines. You have to prep for it and possibly buy individual Lightning Lanes. Some of the food ordering problems are there. Some of the rides are locked behind virtual queues. I feel like Disney's really making it confusing and hard for the normal guests, especially somebody that maybe foreigners that come here. Maybe they don't speak English super great and it's like, we're just gonna try and adapt to the system. And now they're trying to tell you, well, you gotta buy this, you gotta go here, you gotta go there, you gotta do this, go inside the app. And it's like, uh-oh, they're gonna start to struggle, right? I just think they're making it a little too confusing to have a good trip here at Disney. And I don't really know, you can change some of it, but a lot of it feels like it's pretty much a staple at the park anymore. It kind of came from COVID, really, I feel like when you look at the timeline of it, but I don't know, maybe at some point they'll end up changing some things and really making this process a lot easier. They've taken away a lot and not really given back, and they just made it a little bit more problematic to just have a smooth day here at Disney. There are some storms heading in, as we were noticing earlier. They are out that direction. We heard some really loud thunder just a second ago. We are going to try Buzz here again because everything is pretty much down at this point just because of the rain and the storms. I'm not gonna lie to you, it was actually quite a long wait. We actually didn't time it. I didn't think we were going to have to, but the inside got pretty backed up. They are doing quite a bit of training, so I don't know if that was causing a problem. Either way, let's go ahead, get on our space cruiser, and hopefully get a good score. a little bit of a rough one there for Buzz Lightyear. It's been a while since we've ridden it. I don't know if this is a hot take or not, but out of Universal and Disney, this is the worst shooter that you have. Like, Toy Story Mania is way better, Men in Black is way better. This one just isn't that good. Now, either way, with all of the rain that we are experiencing here, we are going to get out of here, but I'm interested in knowing what you guys think. Is Disney just too difficult now? Have they made it a little just too confusing to visit the parks? With the changes coming in 2024, do you think that's going to help enough? Am I just like way too sensitive, I guess, or just like concerned about things that maybe I shouldn't be concerned about? I'm just thinking about the guest experience, and from my standpoint, when you have 5, 6, 7 different things that you need to like track, keep an eye on, and just ultimately have to learn, I think it's hard for any user, especially like a family. Assume you have like a family of like 10, you know, you're bringing extended family, things like that. I think it could be pretty difficult to plan a trip here. So I want to know what you guys think and what you guys kind of imagine. Do you think things are changing? How do you think it compares to something like Universal or even SeaWorld or anything like that? Either way, we're going to get out of here. If you did enjoy today's video, please consider giving it a thumbs up. It helps out a ton. And if you want to see more content like this, please consider subscribing to the channel. We'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.